Hi, and welcome back to another edition of Toka Backstage. This is Chris Wolf, and I am honored to have Riley Rome and Kenny Mikey from Page Turner Adventures that'll be coming up at the Armstrong Theater on Sunday, March 24th. So get your tickets now. So, hi, guys.
Hi.
This is great to have both of you available to do this. I really do appreciate it. So, Page Turner Adventures. Where did the idea come from?
Where did the idea come from? So we have interesting backgrounds. I had been a professional storyteller and I did interactive storytelling for many years. And Kenny was a clown with Ringling Brothers. And so when we met, we wanted to see if we could combine those two things, the idea of circus and storytelling.
And at first the answer was no.
At first they didn't work.
I had to figure it out.
But we combined those two things, and that's how Page Turner Adventures was born. And the name, I've always loved the idea of Mary Poppins and that kind of feel. And so Page Turner is, we say, a cross between Mary Poppins and Indiana Jones and Amelia Earhart. And our goal is to turn kids into storyologists and get them excited about books and reading and stories and literacy.
And strangely enough, my middle name is Adventure.
I
just sit there and she's obviously all the information, and I just sit there and I add really dumb things every now and then. Sometimes they win.
Pretty much how it works in the show too.
It actually kind of sounds like my relationship with my wife. She just says all the smart stuff, and I just interject occasionally.
We're just there for the beauty.
That's right.
That's what I mean. Oh man, now I just put us both in the doghouse.
So I understand. So a storyteller, you also, if I remember correctly, were a writer for PBS and Fox Kids.
I was actually. When we first met, I was a Kids Club host for Fox Kids. I was a producer and host and writer. And so I would write Kids Club news pieces and fun facts and things that came in between all the cartoons, and I would host those. And it was a phenomenal experience. And actually that's how we met, because I got to interview a Ringling Clown when he was coming through town. So that's actually how we originally met. And then we produced together.
Let me add this. And strangely enough, many years ago, I was also a Kids Club host in Wisconsin, unrelated to this thing together, but still
it was
Kids
strange.
Club hosting.
It was still a Kids Club host. So it was a phenomenal experience because I got to write these just fun, informational, interesting things where I got to go and interview people and do exciting things around the area. And it was a really amazing experience. And I am also a writer. And we then created, years later when Kenny and I started working together, we created a series called This Is Only a Test, which was designed to help kids deal with standardized test stress, because we saw how we would go into schools and perform, and we saw how stressed out kids were. So we produced a video series because we both have a television background as well. So we wrote and produced this series, and then that is what aired on many PBS stations around the country. And then we also
and still airing in a bunch of PBS stations, and we just got a 6-year contract renewed in Utah.
Yes, so they're all over Utah.
That's awesome.
And then we also wrote and produced a bunch of things for the Travel Channel because we like to travel. So that was something.
Adventure is my middle name.
It's not. And then I do write children's books as well. So that is my passion, and we love getting kids, excited about that as well.
Well, our motto is, when you read, every day is an adventure.
I like it. And then it's like you guys address so many crucial issues. I mean, not only the stress test for the standardized test, or the reading literacy, but I'm curious, Mike or Kenny as a clown, how was it difficult to sort of leave the Ringling Brothers world and come into more, I guess, story-based stuff?
That's actually a great question. And that is the battle we always have when we're creating a new show. Is she's always like, it needs to be more story. It needs to be more, sometimes if we're doing something a little bit more educational, and I'm always like, it needs to be funny. And that battle that we have when we're writing stuff and when we're developing it on stage is what makes what we do unique. It's what makes our shows unique. And in our live shows, the entire audience is the main character as well. So during the show, they're standing up and sitting down and moving around. So it's not a small thing. It's not like when she first told me she was a storyteller, I was like, oh, that's cute. And then I saw her work the audience, and I saw the timing with the music, and I saw the witty jokes, the stuff that, was going to the adults and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, there's something here. We can work together. This is good. She's got a really great sense of comedic timing and a sense of production. And I took my circus background and said, let's ramp that production up with bigger sets and props and costumes and sound effects and music that's really just super on point. And so I took what she had. Like a couple of our shows, we've created new stuff, but a couple of the shows that we do are shows that we've done for the longest time. One is the mixed up fairy tale.
That's what we're going to be doing for you guys.
That's what we're going to be doing for you guys, is the mixed up fairy tale. And in the mixed up fairy tale, there's a bunch of different characters that the kids know, but there's a couple of characters that were always imaginary. She would put costumes on during the show, but two of the costumes she wouldn't, or two of the characters she wouldn't put costumes on, she would just talk about them. And one was Beauty and one was a giant. And I said, well, my Ringling background, I can do stilts. I have to be a giant. And I was like, and I have to be Beauty. So, because of
that, yes,
of
yeah.
course.
But I have to interject too, because even though Kenny was always big and funny and that, the circus thing, he was the advanced clown for Ringling Brothers, so he would go ahead of the show, and
I wasn't any more advanced than the other clowns.
Yeah. He would do interviews and things like that, but it was also he also worked with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, so he would go to all the Boys and Girls Clubs and do performances for them, and so with that he developed a motivational clown show. So that's always been
just
a part,
instinctively.
That's always been a part of what you do.
Yeah, the very first time that I went and I did a Boys and Girls Club, because I was with Ringling for 2 years, doing the advanced thing for 2 years. The very first time I went to a Boys and Girls Club, I just did a show. I was like, I'm going to do a half-hour clown show, whatever. And I felt like I robbed them, because I felt like there was an opportunity for me to share my experience a little bit about not just I'm a goofy guy, but also why I do this, and this is my job. And so during the motivational show, I actually went in looking normal, or as normal as I can get. And
out of makeup.
Out of makeup, yes, that's the key phrase, I guess. I went in out of makeup, and I put my makeup on in front of the kids, and I had it was like a multimedia. I had a tape playing that I was interacting with, that had sound effects, that was talking about the circus, that I would talk back to, and I would talk about the different types of clowns. I would talk about going to clown college. I would talk about the entertainment business. I would talk about this is actually a business. And the biggest thing that I tried to get across to the kids was, no matter what you want to do in life, even if all you want to do is play, someone out there is going to give you a job doing what you're good at. So stick with it, find your passion, do it. And then after that, I would do a dumb clown show, hit myself in the face with a pie, all that stuff. So yes, but that was always definitely an aspect of what I wanted to do. And so when Riley and I met, and we did the This Is Only a Test series, and we did another series called Big Test Success, it was very natural for me to bring out my inner Tony Robbins, but in a Jim Carrey style way, I guess.
Well, that's really, that's wonderful what you guys are doing, because it's taking the fun of clown and storytelling, but actually also, I guess, giving a message and a message that kids can appreciate. Tell me, when families walk away from your shows, what's the one thing you really hope that they take away? Especially, we're doing Mixed Up Fairy Tales in Torrance. What's the reaction you hope to get from them as they're walking out of the theater?
I think that we're not teaching them to read. We actually don't. We have a giant book prop in the show, but we're not reading stories. What we want them to take away, though, is that stories and and stories and reading and imagination are fun, and that you have that within you. Because again, we're not doing a show on stage. We're doing a show on stage, but we're not doing a play where they're just watching. They become the main character. They are the ones that are the storyologists. We want them to, we send every child off. We make them all storyologists, and we say, you are now all official storyologists. That means you need to go on adventures, collecting, telling, and writing stories. And remember, when you read, every day is an adventure.
That was a good rehearsal.
That was good, yeah. So we want them to feel empowered. We want them to go read stories, write stories. We get stories from kids after our shows. We have, study guides for teachers, but we also want the parents and kids to take a look at them, because they're just ways for them to tell their own stories and to see, not to be intimidated by reading and writing and stories, and to see them as fun and funny and a part of their lives, and something that is just important in the world. So that's really what we want them to take away. And I think and we want them to laugh. We want them to.
I just want them to
fun.
laugh. I don't know what the heck she just said. If they have to,
that's not true.
They have to go and change their pants because they peed their pants because it was so fun. Yes. I want both of those things, but once again, it's the combination of the two.
It's the combination of the two.
It is the when you read every day is an adventure. We want to get them excited and show them something that's a spectacle on stage, that they're laughing, that they're having a good time, and they're not even realizing some of the topics that we're talking about. Some of the they're familiar with the fairy tales in this particular show, or some of the other topics that we're talking about in some of our other shows, like conflict resolution, or even we'll throw history facts in, or positive motivational stuff. They're just having a good time, and they walk away with reading and writing and telling stories is fun.
Yeah.
That's not even the other ones that we do are catchphrases. That one we just went. It's like we finish each other's sandwiches.
Okay. So yeah, that's what we hope.
That's awesome. I have to say, I'm really looking forward to having you guys come out, because I think we're gonna have as much fun backstage as they're gonna have on stage.
Thank you. We do. We have fun.
We do.
And we're wearing our goggles because this is kind of our look. We turn the backstage.
You keep talking. I'm gonna be really awkward for a second. You keep talking.
Okay. So yeah, we give everybody.
All right, that's it.
Christian, you'll get a pair of goggles as well, because that's our thing. We want everybody to be storyologists.
And all right, I'm gonna prepare you ahead of time. There are a couple of points, just really quick points during our shows, where if the stage crew wants, we can have certain members come out on stage and do little prepared things that happen for like 10 seconds if they want, because we do have fun. So if there's a particular stage person that you're like, oh yeah, that guy, he's a ham, let us know who he is, because we got a job for him.
We will definitely point them out. Part of what the foundation does, besides presenting performances, is we also try to help young people who are interested in performing. We mentor them, we give them performing opportunities. And one of the things I like to ask the professionals is, for a young person who wants to take on entertainment as their livelihood, what pieces of advice would you give them?
That's a good question. I think it is talking to other performers. I think it's interning in some way if you can. I think that whole process of working with other people, collaborating, being a part of is, what would you say?
No, I'm gonna agree with that, because the thing is that being an artist can sometimes, it's, if you don't know the biz, you don't know the biz, and you just think, well, I do my art, I have no idea how to make money doing this, make a living, and then also because of of what art is, then sometimes you feel like, well, I'm selling out if I do this or if I do this or whatever. I just want to make my art, and people will come to me. Well, there's it's the show of the business, and the show business. No, wait, is the business of the show? You know what I'm saying? You got to do both aspects are very important, and so if you build a community, if you collaborate with other people, if you hang out with other people, watch other shows, appreciate what they do, you're just gonna your eyes are you're just gonna be so much more open to the different opportunities. I was very lucky early on because I went to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Clown College. And so instantly, like, I have an international family where there's a brotherhood among clown, and I would teach you the secret clown college handshake, but that's between us. I can't. She doesn't even know it. She doesn't even know it. I don't even know it. It's so secret. It's like.
But I also think that being a part of productions and if you audition for something and don't get that lead role that you think you're going to get, that's okay, to work backstage and to see the other avenues and the other things, because I was a theater major. I had, I was going to be on Broadway and I was going to be in movies, and then to discover the other elements of the arts, and that there are other things that you can do in the arts that are just as powerful and just as important, and how important the arts are in the world. And unfortunately, I think that gets lost. I know that I love what you guys are doing, and to bring that into the community is so important. So for kids to be a part of the arts in any way that they can, and to see the different aspects of what that can be.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense.
Because the thing is, if you do look at the different aspects, sometimes you might go, oh, wait a second.
I can do that.
Not only I can do that, but I like that better. And I'm not sure, what your background is specifically, but I've met people that are in administration that are like, yeah, I performed for a little while, but I really love, and I found out that I loved the producing the performers, because the performers aren't good at that necessarily, or being able to bring the arts to the community, or I have that skill, or I am a community builder, or whatever, and then so you go, that's not only my place, but that's what I really want to do. Right. And so there are, or if you're like a super techie and you go, oh man, I love doing the lights, I love doing that. There are so many opportunities in the arts to just be a part of it, and you can be so incredibly successful at that specific niche that you have, and it's fun, and you get to see good shows.
Yeah, it was funny because I started out when I was a kid doing magic, and I wanted to be a magician, and then I realized just how bad I was, and then I learned that there's other things I can do. I don't have to just do bad card tricks. I can move on, and now I get to hire magicians to do shows. And,
exactly.
So hopefully not do bad card tricks. Hopefully they do good card tricks.
Yes, hopefully. So I'm curious about the Ringling Brothers. How did you decide you wanted to be a clown? That's a very specific job.
Yeah, man. Well, actually, I saw an ad in the paper that said, "Are you energetic? Are you enthusiastic? Do you love children?" I was like, yes. And it wasn't for a clown. It was actually for a daycare. And I became, so I became a kindergarten teacher. Not initially, I just started working. It was for, at the preschool. I started working there as just an extra, whatever. And I worked there for a couple of years, and I became a kindergarten teacher after a little while. And I figured out that I loved hanging out with kids, and I loved having fun, and I had a natural knack for just, the whole kids say the darndest thing kind of thing. I just knew how to communicate. I had a rapport with kids more so than any adult ever, which is, says a little bit about my mental, abilities. But what I loved more than anything else was I loved the recess part. I loved the story. I did the storytelling part. And there was one particular kid that we had too that was, I'm going into Jan. There was a kid, his name was Jan, and he would just say the weirdest stuff. But it was smart, but it was weird. So we did a thing where I would sit him down next to me, and then we would have a little group of kids watching us, and we would do Jan the Great Philosopher. And they would just ask him questions like, where did the dinosaurs come from? Or what happened to the dinosaurs in the end? And he would go on for 3 minutes talking about the dinosaurs and what happened to them, and why essentially what happened is, just for the record, the dinosaurs smoked too many cigarettes.
According to Jan.
So
you're going to get on with your circus.
The circus stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I was going to say that, can I get Jan's number? I think I want to book him for next week.
I know, Jan's 20-something.
He is weird dude, but I liked him. But the preschool actually needed a clown mascot at one point in time. And actually the week before they needed that, or whatever the deal was, they had a clown mascot character. I went to a garage sale and I saw a bunch of I saw an old unicycle and I saw some juggling stuff, and I bought it, and then I started learning how to play with it, and I would goof around at the preschool, and then people started hiring me to do parties. I'm like, yeah, I could figure out a party, whatever. I'll put a little routine together. I was doing improv comedy at the time. And then I joined the local clown club. And the local clown club, they were, because I don't know what kind of, if you've ever been to a local clown club, you said you did a little magic as a kid, but they're usually a little bit older and they do it for fun and in order to give back to the community, whatever. They're not like young, crazy guys going, rah. And so everyone was like, you need to apply to Ringling Brothers Clown College. And I'm like, all right. And so it took me a few years to get in because Clown College actually, it's not around anymore, but it was one of the hardest colleges to get into in the world. There was like 2,000 to 3,000 people that apply every year, and they accept 30. And out of the 30, usually about 10 people get a contract to travel with the circus. I had to look over there to see, I'm going to do it. And the fact that I got a contract to travel with the circus proves that
any clown can do it.
Any clown can do it. Oh, Freddie Mercury pose.
So, yes.
Did that answer your question at all?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go back to as whack as I wanted to be.
It's interesting that you mentioned clown clubs because actually there's an old restaurant in downtown Los Angeles called Felipe's where they have the original French dip sandwich. And in the corner, there's like a place where old clowns go to meet, and they have stuff on the wall.
I thought you were going to say go to die.
No. A friend of mine.
Huh? Those are Ringling Brothers clowns.
Yeah.
I know that. That's a group of my. I've seen. I got to go there.
It's really. I know one of the clowns. I don't know if you know Chuck Burns.
Yeah, I know of Chuck Burns. I haven't met him. That's the thing is that we're all family kind of thing. It's just like I was saying. He's
amazing guy. He lives out here in Orange County, but that's just I started thinking of that when you said old clown clubs.
Old clowns.
But the thing is, all those there's a difference. When you join a local clown club, that's not a local clown club. Those are old Ringling clowns. I know those guys.
Yeah.
There's the Ringling Brothers is the whole idea with Ringling Brothers is. You take whatever you have inside and you bring it out and make it big so that people all the way back in the cheap seats of Madison Square Garden can see you. Some of the clown clubs that I've hung out with, some people are big productions. A lot of them are.
They do the birthday party.
They do the birthday party stuff. It's different stuff, but it's smaller. They
actually tend to be better with kids. A lot of times they understand how to work with kids because they're doing close up and they're interacting as opposed to that huge. So it's a different. It's actually a different skill set.
It is a very different skill set, and each person has their own. And there's always it's like mimes and clowns are always like this. Birthday party clowns and Ringling clowns are very often like this. But the thing is, I've been on both sides, and I've seen both people, and each one has they bring their own thing to the table. Yeah. And I was very lucky to not only be doing both of that stuff, but also. When I was with Ringling and doing the advanced stuff, I did so many, personal appearances, so many small things that I not learned. I mean, obviously I did that before when I was working with kids, but I got to even develop more my one-on-one. Even my makeup was very muted. It was very, it wasn't like the big, bold, crazy stuff. I mean, I could do that if need be. And yes.
It's like,
we do a thing in one of our shows where we have everyone go, mozzarella, and I go, just be careful of the person sitting next to you. All right, so where were we? Should I stop talking? You talk for a little while?
So Riley, I'm curious about your storytelling. How did you learn that you got, that too is a special skill set. How did you discover that?
You know what? It was a very strange, same kind of thing where you never know where things are gonna come from. My mother had actually was a professional dancer. She danced with Martha Graham and Alvin Ailey, and so I grew up with a dance studio in my living room. I grew up dancing, and she started a program when I was in high school as a way to teach dance to young children. She did it through stories. So instead of doing a gromp up mom, now I'll do it to you. Now it's my turn.
Wait, do it again. There you go.
You're now a giant with your leg up high. And so she developed a program that was called Motion Potion, and it was a way to teach, originally just to get dance and then early learning skills. And she did this whole program with very young kids. So from the time I was in middle school, I was helping.
What are you looking at me for? I didn't know you in middle school.
So I was helping with this program, and I just naturally learned that way of telling stories. So it was never I'm going to read you a story. It was always this movement-based, interactive, physical, you are the character. So the kids were always becoming the character when I was telling the stories. And I would go from preschool to preschool to preschool. And I would every once in a while do something from a book, but I wanted to write my own stories. So at that time, I would just constantly come up with a lot of the books that I have now and the stories that I write now were from that time years ago when I would just come up with story after story after story and then work them with the kids in the preschool, hands-on, to see what worked. So it was this different kind of storytelling. So then I and my mother and I did it together, and we performed. It was a more classroom-based, smaller setting. But I always wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to be on stage. So I took that form of interactive storytelling and I brought it onto the stage, and would do that same kind of thing for bigger audiences. So again, you are the character. So then when Kenny and I started working together, we took that kind of interaction combined with the circus, combined with the juggling and unicycling.
And tech and multimedia and fun
tech
stuff.
and multimedia and all of that stuff, but still like the crux of what we do started in those preschools and elementary schools, in the classroom, with the kids, creating it and becoming the characters themselves.
Well, and the nice thing and the nice thing with that is that we do workshops as well, and all of our workshops are super interactive like that, where basically she's leading them and doing what she used to be doing forever.
Where they're helping, and sometimes I have a story that depending on the age kids that we're working with, they will just become the character in that story. But if we're working with older kids, like we'll work with up to 5th grade with this, and we say, okay, what's the setting? Okay, who are the characters? Where are we? We're doing an action adventure, and we have a microphone, we have adventure music, and they are literally creating the story on the spot. We talk about,
and they're going through it, and they're walking. Okay, now let's walk across the rope that's hanging over the swamp with the alligators, stuff like that.
But within that, we talk about character and setting and character arc, and I'll talk about character arc with 4-year-olds. Like how does the character start? What happens at the end? And so we do all of that within those workshops. But it all started with this program that I started doing with my mom years ago, and then that's a version of it we do on stage, and then a version of it when we do our workshops. That's what happens. So.
Well, in the show, our other motto is, in a page-turner adventure, you are the hero of the story. Don't worry, not you, Chris. So,
you are.
Oh, actually, no, you are. Yeah, you're out there. So, but that's the thing, is that with our show, it's literally, there's 2 people on stage, but it can literally be a cast of thousands, because the entire audience is helping us with the story and having it go forward. So
they're standing up, they're sitting down, they're running in place, they're solving the problems, they're figuring things out, they're interacting directly with us. So.
Climbing up the beanstalk to see the giant.
Yeah.
So
we love what we do.
What age group would you say Mixed Up Fairy Tales is best for?
Mixed Up Fairy Tales works for a pretty wide age range. I would say, like as young as pre-K.
People are all often very concerned. They're like, oh, well, we have pre-K kids. They're probably going to get a little antsy. Don't worry. They're going to be moving around the whole time. They're going to be having fun. They're going to be interacting.
Yeah, up until 10 years old, I would say, and even older, like in a theater setting. When we're doing an elementary school, when it's just
when we know it's this exact age.
Yeah, we'll generally do pre-K through 2nd or 3rd. But in a theater setting, it really works for a wide age range, because we have a lot of big props and costumes, and he's the giant on stilts, and
I'll do a lot. But here's the thing: we work with whatever audience is in front of us. It's just like I always say, a performer is not performing for an audience; they're having a conversation with an audience. So I'm going to speak to you differently than I speak to my cat, or I'm going to speak to a kid or whatever. I do talk to the cats, but the cats don't talk back. That's what I'm supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
I have the same issue over here, so you're good. I totally get it.
Okay, well, we'll get our cats together on a little date. But yeah, so actually, we there's a lot of jokes and a lot of, like, some of our songs and stuff are parodies of songs that adults will know, and so we get a lot of laughs.
And parents actually also very much will enjoy the shows. So. Well, but I'm sorry, to answer your question, elementary school kids, and as young as 3-year-olds will enjoy it.
Yeah, and the parents usually come up to us after the show and they say to me, because I don't know if you've noticed, I got a little energy. I kind of go off on my little thing every now and then, and I go off even more so when there's a stage there and the lights going on. Fair warning. And they say, hey, you should do stand-up comedy, and I'm like, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the show here today, but those aren't my people. My people are the kids. I don't want to deal with hecklers in a bar in the middle of the night, whatever. I'll work with you, and you found it funny because your kids are here and they're enjoying it, and you're having a good time, and I'm talking to you as well.
We do have some asides.
We got some little asides. We got so many asides. Some people don't even understand. Even she doesn't understand what I'm saying. I didn't even understand what I just said.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
Hopefully the cats do, right?
They definitely.
Okay, well, unfortunately, we are out of time. I want to thank you both very much for taking the time to chat today. We're really looking forward to having you out on Sunday, March 24th. That's Page Turner Adventures doing Mixed Up Fairy Tales. And Riley and Kenny, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank
This was
you.
fun.
We'll see you soon.